let's take you straight across to these live visuals that are coming in from the global leaders arriving at Rajghat. The Prime Minister is also there. This comes after the successful G20 Summit yesterday after day one. Today as day two begins. We're seeing the visuals coming in from Rajghat. These are the live visuals coming in. All the world leaders will be arriving there shortly and will be paying homage to Bapu. The Prime Minister is there welcoming all the guests as they start arriving. Similar to what we saw yesterday, this is the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, being welcomed by the Prime Minister and being presented with a shawl. Remember, yesterday as well as the world leaders started arriving, the backdrop, very interesting backdrops have been picked up by the G20 Summit organizers. Yesterday, as the world leaders arrived, it was the Konark Wheel. The Prime Minister not just took pictures, but also explained to some of the leaders, including Joe Biden, the significance of this. And in the evening, it was the Nalanda University. Now the World Bank President, Ajay Banga, being felicitated. A very warm rapport that the Prime Minister shares with him. Similarly, of course, here as well, explaining the backdrop of it and welcoming him to Rajghat and sharing a conversation as well. In fact, in several of these interactions with these world leaders, we've also seen a personal rapport. Ajay Banga, the president of the World Bank, is also very, very optimistic about India. He has spoken about India's growth story. The Prime Minister sharing a few words with him as he arrived there and then welcoming him inside. So the world leaders have already started arriving, the global leaders arriving after what has been called a very, very successful G20 summit yesterday. Many were also casting doubts on whether the New Delhi declaration would be adapted, but all the world leaders have given their 100% assent to it, being seen as one of the biggest successes of the G20. Apart from that, of course, the African Union also being included in the G20 grouping. This also seen as a big victory, and the Prime Minister, remember, had also welcomed him with a warm hug. That, of course, being seen as the picture of the day. My colleague Rishabh joining us on the broadcast with the details of what's expected today. We're also playing out visuals of the WHO Director General at the peak of the crisis of COVID-19. Remember, he had been advising the countries on how to deal with the pandemic. Has also been criticized, but played a very, very crucial role at a very crucial time. My colleague Rishabh joining us on the broadcast with the details. Rishabh, we've seen the world leaders now arriving, and similar to what we saw yesterday, it's a cultural heritage of India that is taking precedence. A very interesting backdrop being put up of the Sabarmati right behind the Prime Minister as the world leaders have started arriving. Take us through the details. Rishabh? All right, we'll just go back to Rishabh in just a moment. But here you have it in the backdrop, the Sabarmati Ashram, and the Prime Minister is also taking a few moments to tell the world leaders about the significance of this ashram as they arrive at Rajghat. And this backdrop that you're seeing and the Prime Minister speaking about it has been really the standout in the previous day as well, yesterday as well. Remember, as the world leaders started arriving, initially when they just arrived at the venue, it was the Konark Wheel that was in the backdrop. The Prime Minister took a few moments explaining to the world leaders about the Konark Wheel, talking about the significance of it, talking about India's heritage and civilization. Similarly, now as well as we are seeing, there is a Sabarmati Ashram that is seen in the backdrop. The Prime Minister is speaking about it as the world leaders arrive in the Rajghat. The Prime Minister talking about the significance of the Sabarmati Ashram. In fact, interestingly, yesterday, last evening as well, there was a very interesting backdrop of the Nalanda University. So talking about India's civilization, the Prime Minister also took a few moments yesterday to speak to all of these leaders about the same. My colleague Nilashish also joining us on the broadcast. Nilashish, interesting visuals that we're seeing. The world leaders have already started arriving at Rajghat, and like we've been speaking, the Prime Minister also having the Sabarmati Ashram in the backdrop, explaining it to the world leaders as they start arriving. All right, let me take this across to Akanksha. Akanksha, fill us in with what's happening there.
Well, absolutely. Visuals are coming of the leaders of the most influential nations of the world arriving at Rajghat to pay homage to Mahatma Gandhi and also to lay a wreath. And as per the schedule that has been given at 8:15 to 9 o'clock, the leaders will remain there. Then they will also be signing the peace wall inside the leaders' lounge at Rajghat at 9. From 9 o'clock to 9:20, they will lay wreath at Mahatma Gandhi's Samadhi, and there will also be a live performance of Mahatma Gandhi's favorite devotional songs. Then after that, the delegation as well as the leaders will leave for in their individual motorcades for Bharat Mandapam. But right now, the visuals that are coming in are of leaders arriving at Rajghat, where they will be paying homage to Mahatma Gandhi and will also lay a wreath. Live performance will also be done on Mahatma Gandhi's devotional songs.
Okay.